calendar to let you know what's going on with your case. There are a few issues that we might take up. I want to remind you that you're presumed innocent. You have the right to remain silent, and you have a right to a lawyer. Your lawyer, Mr. Samuel, as well as Mr. Garland, they're on the call. We're doing all this remotely because of COVID. So we also have the prosecutor on the case, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, if I could begin with you, sir. From the state's perspective, this is a little bit different because the case has been indicted. What is the state asking the court to do, if anything, today?
The state's position is that because this is a direct indictment, jurisdiction will lie with the Superior Court Judge, the Honorable Judge Glanville, I believe has been assigned to this case.
Okay, and I did see that on Odyssey. It looks like Judge Glanville, who is an elected Superior Court judge, was assigned the case. So, Mr. Smith, is it your position that probable cause has been established by the indictment?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, and the other issue that often comes up with these first appearance calendars is bond. And so do I understand you that you're asking Judge Glanville to take up any bond issues?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Let me hear from Mr. Samuel on both issues, the PC and the bond. Anything you would like to add, sir?
Your Honor, there's nothing to add on the probable cause. Obviously, the indictment's been returned, so we can't challenge the probable cause. We do believe that you have concurrent jurisdiction to consider bond. This is a case in which Mr. Kitchens is, I'm sure you haven't had time to read through the indictment in this case, but the allegations, just reading the indictment itself and nothing more, it is so clear that he is entitled to bond. There are, in essence, 2 traffic offenses, not trafficking, but motor vehicle traffic offenses that are alleged. I represented him in one of those cases, and he was found guilty of a window tint violation. That's the RICO allegation with regard to 4 or 5 of the paragraphs of the RICO indictment. The other one claims that he was speeding and got a speeding ticket. Actually wasn't even the driver. And someone in another car had a gun. With regard to, and the only other allegations in the RICO indictment involve lyrics for some of his songs, some of which are some of the most internationally famous songs right now. Top songs on Billboard, #1 albums in the country, and the prosecution has indicted him, alleging those lyrics as being part of the reasons why he's guilty of a RICO offense. He voluntarily surrendered yesterday. He wasn't picked up. We called the sheriff, said, we're coming down. We know the indictment was just returned. I talked to the DA, Mr. Geary, told him we were coming down. Nobody had to go pick him up. He poses no risk of flight at all. He's been born and raised in Georgia, been here his whole time. His mother is sitting across the table from me here in my office. And he had no felony convictions of any kind. We are sitting here in jail at this point on a RICO allegation involving 2 motor vehicle offenses plus lyrics. And that is it, Your Honor. And they have to wait for however many weeks it's going to take to get on a calendar with Judge Glanville, you know, on a 26 defendants in this case. And you know, I think you have concurrent jurisdiction. I've had plenty of cases where magistrates have set bond in cases. This isn't a case in which the magistrate lacks jurisdiction to set bond. It's not one of the 7 deadly sins.
May I ask a question? And I apologize for cutting you off, Mr. Samuel.
That's okay.
I want to just deal with that threshold question first. The court does tend to agree with some of what you said, that this isn't one of those offenses where bond would only go to a Superior Court judge. Correct. There is concurrent jurisdiction on the bond. But I do want to hear from Mr. Smith from the state. Is there,
whoever's talking.
You're saying that you would rather Judge Glanville hear the bond, correct?
Judge, what I'm saying is that this case has been indicted, and this has already been assigned to Glanville. So I believe jurisdiction lies with Judge Glanville.
And so do you have any legal authority at this point to say that the court does or does not have authority to consider bond today?
I can pull it for you, Judge. But again, with it already being assigned, I believe it's the jurisdiction with the Superior Court. But I can get that for you.
And has there, Mr. Samuel, I appreciate that. Mr. Samuel suggests that there's no court date scheduled before Judge Glanville. you might have said this earlier, but when was it indicted?
Indicted
The 9th, Your Honor.
the 9th, Your Honor.
Okay, 2 days ago. Okay, and do you agree, Mr. Smith, that the indictment issue notwithstanding, that based on the charge that Mr. Kitchens was indicted for, that the magistrate court would have authority to set bond on that charge? You're just saying because the case has been indicted, it needs to go to Judge Glanville.
And has been assigned to Judge Glanville.
Right. And is there any word from Judge Glanville's office that they want to handle this and that they don't want this court to hear the bond issue?
Not that I'm aware of at this time, Judge.
Okay.
We're
And
not aware of that either, Your Honor, just so you know.
okay. And so, you know, I just want to make sure, Mr. Smith and Mr. Samuel, that the court starts with the premise that I don't have authority to do anything in particular unless the law expressly allows the court to do it. And I'm just a little concerned, Mr. Smith, where you say, and I respect your position, that because the case has been indicted and assigned to Judge Glanville, that would remove jurisdiction. And you said that there's authority for that. I can do one of two things. I can either just say, in the court's discretion, I'll move it on to Judge Glanville and let him hear bond. But the court is a little bit concerned that there's no court date scheduled for that. Or I would need some kind of authority from the state indicating, or some indication from Judge Glanville's office that they would prefer to handle the bond issue. It is a conspiracy to violate RICO charge. It's one count. So what's the state's position on that? Do you have any authority for the court?
Just, may I have a brief moment, Judge?
Yes, of course. And I don't want to rush you. I don't want to rush either side.
I just want to get the relevant authority for you to show that it's within the jurisdiction of the Superior Court.
Oh, thank you.
And Mr. Smith, you can check your email. I sent you a copy of delegating order.
And for everybody here for the 11:30 calendar, we'll get started soon. I appreciate everybody's patience. We'll resolve this case one way or the other in the next several minutes.
Your Honor, I just want to clarify that which case are we dealing with right now?
It's position 14 on the first appearance warrant calendar. It's 22 SC 182273.
Thank you.
Yes. And good morning to you, Ms. Mackey.
Good morning, Your Honor.
So this is where you do that. The ticket comes alphabetical order B, C.
Looking at 2021 EX001071, an order delegating the setting of bail. It was filed June 11th, 2021. And it does give this schedule. It's signed by Judge Brasher as the Chief Judge of the Superior Court of Fulton County, Atlanta Judicial Circuit. One of the things that it says is that the judges of the Superior Court of Fulton County, Atlanta Judicial Circuit hereby order and authorize the delegation of the authority to set bonds. Mr. Kitchens, I'm a magistrate court judge. The delegation of the authority to set bonds to magistrate and state court judges for a period of 1 year, so we're still under that year, pursuant to OCGA 1761H under the following conditions. And we've already mentioned that there are certain charges not before the court today, not delegated for any case, regardless of the charges involved, that has been indicted and assigned to the docket of a Superior Court judge. So I do want to hear from Mr. Samuel. You were talking about Rule 26.1. I want to give both sides ample opportunity to argue this issue. The court is sensitive to any defendant in jail without bond, but I also must follow and respectfully follow Judge Brasher's order, as well as the laws and Constitution of our state. So with that, Mr. Samuel, we can get you a copy of that delegating order, but it seems to speak directly to this situation.
It does. I don't have a copy of the delegating order. I still maintain that you have concurrent jurisdiction both by statute and by the uniform rules. And I'm not sure that Judge Brasher necessarily was absolutely depriving you of the ability to do it, because there's plenty of cases where magistrates do it. We have no word from Judge Glanville saying that, you know, with a 26 defendant case, he's gonna, you know, suspend everything else, the important matters that he has, and deprive the magistrate of, you know, your expertise to grant bonds. And especially, as I said, in a case like this where, you know, the defendant's in custody, he turns himself in, voluntarily surrenders, there's no allegations of violence, there's no allegations of flight, no allegations of any danger to the community. And, you know, Judge Glanville, for all we know, is gonna, you know, set this down for a hearing sometime in June or July, because it's just a 26 defendant case. And I think that, you know, given your authority, let the prosecution appeal if they want to appeal the granting of bond in this case. They have the authority to appeal, and see if you know, Judge Glanville, he may very well welcome having you give him assistance. You know, we all trust you, Judge Wolf. You've been around longer than, not everybody, but most people. And so we think you ought to hear from us on bond.
Okay, well, I will dispute two things you said about any expertise I have, and also that I could help Judge Glanville in any way. He does a fine job and doesn't need my help. I just take the reading of that order from Judge Brasher. It's something that I apply regularly when I handle these calendars, and I'm not going to make an exception today. So respectfully, all those bond issues are absolutely relevant, Mr. Kitchens, but they need to be taken up before Judge Glanville, because he was assigned the indicted case. If you were just in front of me, like a lot of other people on this calendar, unindicted, then absolutely I would consider bond. But I don't have the authority to do it today. So any other issues need to go before Judge Glanville. And so with that, is there, Mr. Samuel, anything else for the defense that I can say or address?
The only thing I can say, Your Honor, is that we will contact Judge Glanville's office. We've been trying to reach over there today, and see if he will authorize you to consider bond, and hopefully we can get back before you, maybe not later today, but within a day or so, to see if he will authorize you to do it, notwithstanding Judge Brasher's standing order.
And I appreciate that. Court's always here to serve everybody. In a neutral, even-handed way, and so if that situation arises, we're here. Okay. And so, in the meantime, Mr. Samuel, Mr. Garland, very good to see both of y'all. Do you have any other cases on the calendar?
Nothing else from the defense, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, be safe. Hope to see both of you soon.
Okay.
And before you, in this case.